Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lonely Wrist. Sitting in front of me is Sophie from Sophie's Watch World.
Hello, hi.
Sophie is a fellow YouTuber, also an honorary member of the Double Wrist Committee, and the writer for Mainspring, a contributing writer for Mainspring Watch. Does that accurately represent who you are? Who you
Yeah,
are?
more or less.
Okay,
More or
okay,
less, yeah.
okay. I practiced that in case you can't tell.
Well,
So
bravo.
thank you, thank you. Um, yeah, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing, and I mean, I was gonna put fashion influencer in there too. I don't know if
Well,
that's
there's a sprinkle of style in there, isn't there?
okay. Okay. I'm curious to start off with day one. What got you into watches? Um, and we'll start there. How'd your journey
Okay.
begin?
Well, my first watch was a Rolex OP. Like you had an OP as well, I believe, after listening to
I
one of
did.
your
I did.
podcasts. That
Yep.
was
Yep.
your
Yep.
first Rolex. And similar to you, I was like, cheapest one, tells the time. It will, and I was fascinated by the fact that you didn't need a battery in the watch. That to me was magic. This was back in 2016 is when we got it, and it was in the day when you could walk into a Rolex store and just buy it, which is what we did. Me and my husband, we walked into the shop and I said that one, and then we walked out with it. It was magic. But I didn't think about it after then. I just thought that's my watch. I slept in it, showered in it. I didn't take it off. Um, oh, is there a dog?
Yeah, my dog is trying to get some
Hey, Poochie.
B-roll. Yeah, he's in the back yapping.
Oh,
I literally just texted my wife. I was like, "Hey, dog, 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 dog. Like, chill, chill." So,
oh no! All dogs are welcome here. It's a safe space.
it is a safe space, but it doesn't help us get to know you better. I will do a
uh,
whole segment on my dogs at some point, I'm sure.
okay. Well, I do love dogs, so
Uh,
that's part of the personality. But
okay.
but yeah, so Rolex, a few years, well, that was just my watch. Then this was in London. Then we moved to Geneva. I suppose it's kind of game over from there when you move to the kind of epicenter of watches.
Totally.
Um, but I became pregnant. I had my daughter. This is in 2018. Still with the one watch, my Rolex, rocking it. Um, and COVID hit, wasn't aware of the watches. I know everyone else was. Totally missed that boat. Like, absolutely not involved. I was just bringing up my little girl. But then, about 2 years ago, my husband declared that he was a closet watch geek. I had no idea. Okay? Like zero idea. And he'd been secretly watching YouTube's, and he was turning 40. And he had also declared that he wanted to spend a large chunk of our fortune on a watch. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what? So yeah, so then I was like curious, like how can a watch cost that much money for one? Because bearing in mind, I had a Rolex, but at the time it was about £3,000, which is, it's a lot of money, but it's
Totally.
not, but for something you wear every day and is like
Yeah.
solid as a rock, I think that's a really fair price.
Yeah.
And I'm still of this mindset. This is just how I am. But anyway, back to him. He wanted something. He was thinking, champagne lifestyle. And I was like, steady on, mate. Like, no. So anyway, we were watching Brit Pierce, Jenny L, obviously Teddy Balthazar, all of this. And slowly but surely, I was kind of, the kind of penny dropped. And I was like, these are amazing. Watches are amazing. Oh my goodness. I was just like, it was like, in The Wizard of Oz, and Dorothy steps out and she sees she's not in Kansas anymore and it's all in color.
Yeah.
That's what it was like for me. I was like, oh my god, we can manipulate time. Like it's amazing. Like this is like art and culture and style and fashion, and I was just like, wow. And then, but
Firecracker moment.
yeah, literally. So I was like getting way into watches by then. My husband chose, by the way, a Zenith Defy Skeleton Blue for his
Uh,
watch. Very, very nice watch.
yes.
Although he did sell it, like he sold it quite
Really?
soon after. Yeah,
The blue ceramic one? Is that?
it's not the ceramic. It's like, but it's this,
It's
the
the steel
skeleton.
or
Yeah,
titanium one?
the steel one, but with the blue. It's
Yeah.
not really a skeleton, really, is it? It's like
The Defy Skyline. It's like open
yeah,
worked.
open work. Yeah, open work
Uh,
dial.
there's a titanium one, I think.
Yes, that came out later on.
Oh, okay. Okay. I should know this. I'm a Zenith guy, but
But yeah, but it's a great watch, and he
I
bought
have
that.
one. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
And you obviously love it then.
I love it. I got so mine's the white ceramic one.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
beautiful,
insane. And
beautiful watch.
I love Zenith. Zenith is my favorite brand. I think
Yeah.
your podcast at release, we just released but one episode back or
I
two episodes
started
back
listening to it
to
with
the
Romain.
Zenith.
With
Yeah.
Romain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And yeah, Zenith are amazing, and I love them. And actually, I have it over there, this lovely print. And let me just get it. Wait
yeah.
a sec.
Oh, this is the show and tell podcast here.
Look at this. We got this at Watches of Wonders last year.
Oh, you have the Defy one. I have
Yeah.
1 second.
What do you have? I can only see myself. I hope it goes back to you. Oh, there you are. Oh, and you framed yours. What is it?
The pilot.
Oh, yeah. Gorgeous.
Mine's framed. I just framed mine.
Well, we were going to frame it, but then he bloody sold it, didn't he? So it was
Well,
like...
if in case you're wondering,
Yeah.
IKEA has
Okay.
the perfect frame for this.
Okay, send me a message about it and I'll
I got you.
let me know. Thanks, Blake. But yeah, so that's that. So he got his watch, and then I suddenly was like, okay. So now my Rolex just isn't enough for my hunger of watches. And then I got into Cartier. And yeah, I mean, but like neo vintage. So, and at the time, it's not even that long ago, like a year and a half ago, the watch prices were actually quite good on neo vintage Cartier. They're not anymore.
Oh yeah, they're terrible.
Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, so then we started building up, and a bell. Have you heard of a bell? Obviously,
Of
you've heard
course,
of a
yeah.
bell.
Yeah.
I have a big obsession with them. I think they're fantastic. Again, like neo vintage. I had three, and now I have two. But basically, last summer, all my watches got stolen.
Oh.
Yeah, which was horrendous. So yeah, my first Rolex, those Cartiers I was talking about, gone. But we were insured. But anyway, I'm skipping forward in the story. So then I went for drinks with a girlfriend, and I just want to tell you my background.
Yeah.
So I was a professional actress, and before I moved to Geneva, and I was also working in the fashion industry for a very luxury lingerie company. I run the flagship store for a few years, and I worked for them for nearly a decade.
Wow. See, I knew you're a fashion icon.
Yeah, but it's like styling was all part of that, and
Right.
I have always had an extremely strong sense of style, even from as soon as I could walk, really. Yeah, like I even kind of made my wedding dress and stuff.
Wow. Jeez. That's crazy.
But my mum was like, "What are you doing? You don't know how to sew." And I was like, "I don't care what you say.
Doesn't
I have
matter.
a vision." And I did it. I did it.
Doesn't
And
matter.
I love that dress. But yeah, so I just had this kind of sense of style. And also, I have two children, but it's quite a blur. Like, motherhood is amazing, it's so rewarding, it's fantastic, but also you kind of lose yourself a lot because you're focusing on anyone else apart from yourself. Um, and I was breastfeeding for a few years, like on and off. So I kind of couldn't wear what I wanted because I was always thinking about, like whacking the boob out and all of this, like as you do as a woman. Um, and it kind of got me down. But then, basically the day after I stopped breastfeeding my son, I was like, I could wear what I want again. It's like, it was crazy. I was just like, oh, my wardrobe was so kind of narrow-minded, even though it was massive. I couldn't wear half of my clothes. I kept them all, but it was just like, finally. So I went for drinks. Sorry, I'm kind of being
No,
dramatic here.
get it
Sorry.
out. Get it
I'm just
out.
excited.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, we're excited.
uh, so I went for drinks with a girlfriend, and she just told me flat out, like, why don't you have an Instagram, like, for your style or something? And I was like, do you know what? Why don't I have an Instagram? I should have an Instagram. So the next day I set up an Instagram, and I didn't know what it would be about, but basically by post 2 it was already about watches. So that's that. And that was in October last year. No, not last year, the year before that. Because we're in
Wow.
January now.
Yeah, I think so. Last time
uh,
I checked.
yeah, and it just, yeah, snowballed from there. So I don't know if you can tell, but I'm quite a passionate person in
No,
general.
yeah, it
So I don't do
shows.
anything by half, basically. And I just, yeah, I love watches. And I love what I do for the watch world and the community as well, because it's fun, it's joyful. And I'm sorry, not really sorry, but a watch is a fashion accessory. It is part of your outfit. And you should darn well think about how you're wearing your watch and how it looks with everything else. And I'm here to help. So, yeah.
So that's a hot take from Sophie's Watch World there. So
Yeah.
if it,
Look in the mirror. Does it go?
if you have any issue with that, please don't come at me with it. You will have her Instagram, okay?
I'm just kidding, but not really.
I'm curious to find out. So now that you're in the watch industry
Yeah.
and you took that kind of consumer first approach, how has your perspective on the industry changed now that you're an insider in the industry?
Hmm. That's a good question.
We ask the hard questions here.
Yes, Blake, that is, and I have to actually think about that. Like, how has it changed? Well, I suppose I think more in a bigger picture than I did at first. I think more about how will something come across, how provocative can I get away with as well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I'm quite opinionated, um, and I'm also really trying to shine the light for women and that in the watch enthusiast space, and to kind of be a platform for them, and also to not apologize for being fabulous as well. That I know that might come across as weird, but like, I am extra. Like, I am a big personality, and I find that it's not the watch brands actually. I think they love it that I'm a kind of personality, but sometimes with some guys in particular, they find me too much, um, and yeah. But I'm here to provoke, and I'm just being myself, and I'm fabulous, and I'm not going to dim my light for someone, or like
Yeah.
why? Why would I do that? That's just who I am. Like, no, you don't have to like me. I don't understand why people get offended and then like write comments or do something, and it's like, well, just don't follow me. I'm not forcing anyone to be, around. Oh God, just dropped my headphone. But
Breaking
yeah,
stuff.
breaking stuff. But yeah, That's something a bit bizarre because I don't know why people don't have manners sometimes.
I've noticed that people just don't seem to be kind anymore. Like, what
Yes.
happened to being kind and respectful? And now with all this social media, people kind of realize you can kind of hide behind a fake identity, if that's what you want to call it,
Yeah.
and be mean to people. And at first, when I got into it, I was like putting my heart and soul into my content, and I was like, this is so offensive to me because here I am trying to provide value, to be a resource, to maybe you don't care about my opinion. That's fine, cool, right? You don't have to follow me. But I'm here to share it, and hopefully people appreciate that. And hopefully people will look at watches differently because I come from the watch industry. I've been an insider, and hopefully people will look at watches differently. And yeah, I'm here just trying to be a resource, and you're here
Yeah,
to
coming in
shit
your
on me.
face
Yeah, to
by
shit on me
doing this.
somehow. Yeah,
I know, but I think also like it is a small minority that do this. So I'm
totally,
talking about it, but actually the majority of the watch community, everyone is so overwhelmingly positive and
totally.
welcoming. I wouldn't be here if they weren't. Um, but I love it. I love the whole community. I love being a kind of middle woman between brands and the community as well. Um, does that make sense? That kind of bridge of kind of
Totally.
presenting something, showcasing in the best way I know how, and just to just show fab things, fab watches, and people, I hope they like what I do at the end of the day, because obviously that's all we want, isn't it? Just for people to have some enjoyment about the entertainment that we're giving them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I as a creator, I've kind of changed my mentality on
Mm-hmm.
building content, and I know this sounds weird, and I just build content that I think people would appreciate, or content that I know that I would appreciate, that I wish was maybe out there.
Oh, that is
Um,
that is only what I do as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
because I try and create things that I want to see.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
it's
because they're not there. So
yeah,
I'm just like, well, I better do it myself then.
yeah, yeah. And I've noticed something too that kind of irks me is a lot of the people that talk about watches that are online, they also sell watches, right?
Right. Yeah, I've
And
noticed that too.
and that to me, it reminds me. Have you ever seen Mad Men? Maybe
Yes,
not.
of
Okay,
course.
okay. So yeah, yeah. They talk about like in one of the episodes they talk about like smoking, like how to make smoking cool, and they're working for the
Yeah.
smoking company, and I'm like, this to me is like the watch industry, it's like it it felt like the people that are influencing you to buy watches are the ones that can take your money for buying a watch,
Yeah.
and and hey, like everybody's got their own hustle, right? Cool, whatever,
Yeah, but
and
I think like that is a great analogy, yes. And you've got to remember a lot of those people were smoking in Mad
yeah,
Men. So
they
they
were,
were passionate about smoking too.
they
So I
were, they were.
think like I mean, you can't really like hate on people for like just selling watches that they like,
I I
really.
I
It's a
I'm
job,
not.
isn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm not hating on anybody for selling
Aren't you,
watches.
Blake? Aren't you?
I just feel like, obviously as somebody who formerly sold watches,
Yeah.
um,
Do you
I
think it's
feel,
just a bit of like smoke and mirrors?
yeah, I mean, I know based upon, first of all, when you're selling a watch, it's a little bit more difficult than you would think. It's a little easier than selling a car, I would say, or a house or something big, but there's ways that you can use psychology to bait and trap a customer. And and I found myself, looking into those things, right? Um, like a reverse psychology, like, the art of attraction, like manipulation, like NLP, nonlinear persuasion. I found myself researching these things as I was a watch salesman. Um, and to me, like understanding how the human brain works is very interesting. So and I wasn't the only watch salesperson doing that, right? But
No.
then as somebody walked into my store, it became, how do I take food off of their table and put it onto my table, right? That was the concept that I
But
was
is that
starting.
how you felt as a salesperson?
Yes. I was
Okay.
starting to transition into that thought process.
Yeah, which
I
is
can't
sad, isn't it?
It is. I can't say that I directly got there, but I saw the transformation happening based upon the people that I was exposed to because they thought like that, and that's all I was, kind of exposed to. Like, like after every interaction, we do an after action interaction report. It's like, okay, cool. The customer, here's the watches we showed. Here's what we talked about. Here's, how here's why I didn't think I didn't close the deal. Right. We had to write a report. Like, it wasn't like a big report. It was a little computer report. Like, how come I didn't make that sale? Right. So, and it's much easier to sell a watch and write a report saying, "Oh, I did sell a watch," versus why I didn't, like, me formulate this weird thing as
Yeah.
to why I didn't sell the watch. But
But that sounds like an issue with the watch industry because I come from sales too in luxury lingerie. Like
right, 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 right.
I'm a very good salesperson myself. But it wasn't when I was training people and doing this in sales, it was nothing like that. It was all about listening to the customer and giving them the best possible thing for them. And I approach watches in the same way.
That I 1,000% agree with, and that
Because
was
if you
my.
come into my shop, you are looking for something. So for me, I am problem solving for you and using my amazing knowledge to give you the best possible thing. And for me, it wouldn't even be about the most expensive thing in the shop. It would just be about getting them the best, and obviously opening their eyes to the possibility of other things as well. Like, because they don't know how fabulous a pair of stockings is. They don't know how, do you know what I mean? But it's like your passion and your knowledge is infectious.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you there, and our thought process is so aligned.
Yeah,
Because when I first came in as a watch sales professional, I thought about, like, how can I make friends with everybody that comes in to the shop? Like, I want to make a new friend. I'm a watch nerd, they're a
yeah,
watch nerd. Um, a lot of the other sales associates, and mind you, this was something that I was doing full time,
yeah.
but I also had a full time job on top of that. So I was working in
Whoa,
cybersecurity
talk
during the
about burnout.
yeah,
My
that's yeah.
God.
So I was working in cybersecurity during the day, and then I was selling watches at night. So um, I just didn't have anything better to do, at the time. And so, anyways, I was like, hey, how can I make friends with every single person that comes in? How can I meet another watch nerd? And that was the approach that I came into selling watches as, and uh, and then I just started to notice, you know, um, and not that I worked for like a terrible company, that's not what this is about, but um, it then became, a lot of your compensation is based upon commission, right? Like,
Yeah, well, it is
um,
in was with me as well.
yeah, and yeah, it just became, if you're gonna be there, like, how do you earn as much money while you're there, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sounding like such a terrible person right now.
No, but I do get it. And I saw this happening myself, but it was kind of like I just wanted to, I put a lot of emphasis on authenticity and just
Totally,
being there, and also the big picture and long-term thinking. It's they might walk out of that shop that day,
totally.
but because you were so nice and you just gave them all the attention, all the time in the world, that you write your name down, they'll come back to you because you,
100%.
and they do, and it does work. But you have to play the long game. Um,
I'd say that's super accurate in watches. The chances that
yes,
somebody walk into your store and buy a watch, first 20 minutes is impossible. Um, and and as a lot of this mentality came uh from being exposed to the wrong people,
yeah,
right? Like like the sales manager, as an example. Um, and I would see him, getting somebody in and out the door in 20 minutes, and there I am spending an hour and a half with the same group, and I'm just talking about, hey, where are you from? And mind you, I live in Las Vegas, so
yeah,
everybody's visiting from somewhere. Um, and I was much more slower and more methodical, and like I said, I was, cared more about like building relationships and friendships because I understand, it's a long game. It's not a short game. It's not like you're going into to Walmart to buy a pair of socks or something. Like,
yeah,
you just pick the pair of socks that fits your foot size and that looks comfortable, or maybe you get the multi-pack and you walk out the door. Like a lot of times people are spending a large amount of energy, time, effort doing research on a watch. And then they come in to it, they go through a validation period where they're
yeah,
trying to validate or not or get this watch off their mind. So they go through that validation phase where they say, I'm gonna try it on. I'm gonna see how it fits. I'm gonna see how it wears. I'm gonna see if it's
yeah.
comfortable. I'm gonna see if it
It
fits my
happens to
lifestyle.
us all. We
Yeah.
all have it. Like you
Yep.
need the reassurance, don't you? Of like,
Yep.
is this a good choice?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they go through that phase, and then after that phase they go through the phase of selling the watch to yourself. So that
Yeah,
that that is something that nobody really talks about. Um in watches, you look for more reasons to buy it, if at least if you're a watch collector. You look for more reasons to buy it, more benefits to buying that watch than you do like reasons to not buy it. You just say, oh well, it
yeah,
looks so good, I can wear my Santos on a Monday, I can wear my IWC on a Tuesday, or my Panerai on a Wednesday, and then I've got three watches that I can rotate, and here's my sporty, here's my dressy, here's my beater, da, da, da.
yeah,
You look for more reasons to validate to yourself to buy it. And I understood that, and a lot of the other salespeople understood that too. So, you use that, right? Like I would start. I noticed, and I will say I didn't get too far into this mentality. My last month that I worked at the retailer, um, I had like almost like fully transitioned into that person that I was talking about, where like I was just a
you're a
snake oil,
robot. The
yeah, a
robot.
snake oil salesman, trying to sell ice to an Eskimo, and uh, and I didn't like that,
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did that make you feel as a human?
terrible,
Yeah.
terrible, because here
It's not
here I am.
worth it, is it? It's not.
No, no,
Being a
it's like,
shitty human isn't worth it.
yeah, yeah, and and no, I a lot of the people I worked with were great people, but it was their livelihood, and if you
Yeah.
weren't selling a watch, like you might as well be working at McDonald's, because the base salary was so low, that if you're not selling watches, like and I remember one of the guys that worked there, good friend of mine, and unfortunately he's no longer with us, and he was, like a big driving factor in this project, like Lonely Wrist. Um, but he had a lot of financial issues, and I was like, dude, you're, selling like $300,000 a month in watches, like, at 5%, commission, like how come you have, like financial issues? And Vegas can be a dark place. Vegas can really be a dark place. And yeah, same thing. There's another person that worked there, single mother, and she was just a hustler grinder, and I got so much respect for her because I mean she was she's amazing. She's amazing, and just seeing like how she operated and kind of maneuvered and how she built relations, and that's the thing, right? Like that environment is what you're exposed to, because a lot of times there's maybe one or two people in the store at any given time. And so it kind of goes back into that equation of like how busy the store is. And so if it's not busy, and in most instances it wasn't always busy, the other salespeople would be, trying to stay out of the way or be helpful to that salesperson, but also to kind of study, right? It was like a study period. Okay, like what are they saying? What are they doing? Like, what's the body language? Like, how are they communicating? Like, what's the body language of the customer? Like, you're trained in a sales environment to kind of pick up on these nonverbal means of communication, right? And then, once you start to realize that, it became like okay, like how do I decipher these communication, these non, verbal communication means, and like how do I interpret those, and how do I respond to those, and how do I like you know what I mean? So maybe I thought about it a little bit more differently, but here I am living in Las Vegas on the strip, right?
Yeah.
Selling to tourists. Um, and
And I
and
suppose people would come in with big wins and things to like spend their money on a watch. Would that happen?
uh yeah, yeah, sometimes, and yeah, I mean it sometimes would happen, and not very often. Obviously we joke as a local, right? Like,
Yeah.
this entire city was not built off winners. It was built off losers and people losing their asses. But
Yeah.
every seldomly, we would get somebody that would come in and be like, "Hey, I just won, blah 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 blah, and I'm looking to buy a watch or whatever." And it's like, it happened less frequently than you would think. And you know, I haven't really talked about this side of things too much, but we're working on a new segment for my YouTube. So I'm a new YouTuber,
Hmm.
um, at least in the watch industry, but where we actually do the exact opposite. And in my opinion, Vegas is the best place to buy secondhand watches because you get somebody that goes in and loses their ass
Oh
off at
yeah,
a
they go to the
casino,
pawn shop and
go to
they
the pawn shop,
yeah.
and yeah. So ironically, it looks like you're wearing a Santos medium. Boom.
Hell yeah, I am. Look at
I
that.
have I have that watch.
Oh, it's so
And I
good.
love it. And I actually just got it. So I just got it about a month ago, and I've been looking at one forever.
They're
Right?
just perfect.
It is. It is absolutely perfect. And so at the pawn shop, I found one. I found one
Yeah.
like dirt cheap. I mean, like
How much are we talking here?
$3,000.
Oh, that is so cheap. The new
Right.
model.
The new model.
Whoa,
Well,
that's
actually,
amazing.
hold up. It's the WSSA 0010.
Okay.
So
Does
the
it have
big
the the quick
yes.
release?
So there's two versions of the quick release.
Yeah.
There's the 0010 and the now 0029. And
Yeah.
the biggest difference between those two is actually the butterfly mechanism on the leather strap. So not on the
Oh,
bracelet. The
yeah.
bracelet's the same. But if you have the leather strap that folds in on both sides and doesn't have the holes, you have the WSSA 0010. And if you have the deployant that has the two buttons, and then it folds out and it clips into the holes on one side. You
Yeah,
have the 0029.
that's what I have.
So I bought mine was the 0010. And it was, I mean, it was thrashed. So
Really?
the
Well, it's the
Cowbush,
Santos. They're
it
so.
it is. So that's kind of a new segment that I'm working on.
Are you gonna polish it?
It's I'll show you when we're done
Oh yeah,
recording.
no.
It is
Sorry.
absolutely
Watch.
perfect. So the bracelet was missing on it. The
Yeah.
cabochon missing. And then I mean, of course, the bezel was thrashed.
Yeah.
So I bought a new bezel and I put the new bezel on. And then I found a bracelet. I went to the Cartier store. They wanted $2,200 for that bracelet. And I was like, well, you defeat the whole purpose of me having a cheap ass watch. Like if I spend another 2 grand. Um, so anyways, I went on eBay and I found a bracelet, and I just got the bracelet like a couple days ago. And so now I have the full set. Uh and I paid after I purchased the bracelet, I paid it's about $3,600 US.
Wow, that's
And I got the
amazing.
bezel and
Kudos.
everything.
And the
Yeah.
cabochon?
I haven't fixed that yet.
Okay, so it's
But
still
I
nearly
probably
there.
will. I probably will.
You should.
I definitely will. But and I'm gonna send it off to Cartier, and then I'm gonna film. I've got some really cool footage, like macro footage of like the before, and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
send
Oh,
it out
that's
and do
gonna
the
be
after.
great. What a
And
great video.
so I'm doing that with a couple other watches. I also picked up a Hublot, same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, thrashed as hell. Like the date mechanism doesn't even work on it. Not that I'm a watchmaker, but I haven't seen, and for me as a watch collector, I find it very interesting to hear about these service experiences. Like, what's the process like? Like,
Yeah.
how do the brands work with the customers? Like, this is a part of the industry, and being a watch collector that people need to know about.
Oh, for sure. These are
Um,
videos I would definitely watch.
well, you're gonna watch them. So, so yeah, I've got those two. And then I sprinkle in some of like my mixed content where brands will say, hey, like, here's this watch, like, tell me your thoughts and post a YouTube video, please, thank you, and I'm like, okay, cool, I guess, so yeah, and that's a really long rant. I think I just had an epic rant.
That was a big tangent.
Yeah, but no, so that's how I noticed the industry almost changed me. And I'm glad I didn't get there, because if I got there, there would be no lonely wrists. Like you and I would have never met. I would have never met all these amazing people.
Yeah.
Um, but curious, do you feel that watch brands are catering enough to women, or do you feel like there's still a long way to go? Because in my opinion, what I've seen, and my friend Abington, I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. So she lives here in Vegas as well, and she has a sports watch company, and she's
Oh,
a pilot.
yes. I do
At,
know. I do know.
yeah, and so she's a good friend of mine, and this whole kind of concept came from her and I having discussions. She took me to Chicago. I went to Windup Watch Fair with her, and I helped her. Once I left the jewelry store, I helped her sell watches and do presentations and things like that for a weekend to see kind of her micro brand side. Um, and we had some pretty lengthy discussions about watch brands. What they'll do is they'll just shrink a watch and throw diamonds on it, or maybe put a mother of
Yeah.
pearl dial on it, and
Mother
then
of
call it.
pearl diamonds. I talk about this a lot. Um, yeah, they're not doing enough, but there is a silver lining here because obviously LVMH had their new releases and that fantastic new automatic movement for the Serpenti line is amazing, and they're going to roll that out across LVMH. So I'm interested to see how they're going to make use of the smallest automatic movement in the world, because like Cartier, what are they doing? Like I love Cartier, but you know, neo vintage Cartiers, they have loads of automatic movements, but there's this like I don't know, there's this kind of fascination with in-house movements, and I think at the cost of having smaller movements, really. So that's nice
Yeah.
that LVMH have done that, and I hope that Cartier kind of take note, because I think a lot of the range would benefit from having a mechanical movement in and not just a quartz. Not that there's anything wrong with a quartz, but sometimes it's nice to have the option, and that it's not always there. But yeah, obviously shrink it and pink it is a real problem. Um, that something I find in the industry actually is, if I am in a watch shop or like at Watches and Wonders, I'll sit down and immediately they'll give me the things with diamonds on. I don't own a watch with diamonds on, by the way.
Okay.
But I would
That's all right.
like one.
Me too.
I love jewelry watches, but I find it weird that when a tall watch has diamonds on,
Oh,
because
totally.
what's I like just defeats the whole point of it. That's where I'm like, why? But yeah, each
I
to their own.
I'm a huge Doxa fan. Like
Oh, me
self
too.
I'm a
What do you
I'm a,
think of the new release with the diamonds?
I literally reached out to I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
The sub 200T, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so I reviewed the emerald without the diamonds,
Mm.
and I was at Geneva Watch Days and I saw it, and like I get it, but I don't think it's, yeah, I wouldn't buy it.
It's expensive. It's
Yeah,
expensive.
well they did say to me that it was, they wanted something in that price bracket,
Hmm.
and that's they're offering in that price bracket. But why don't you just get an in-house movement, and then you can have a watch in that
Well,
price bracket?
I I'm not a fan of in-house movements. And
Well, their movements aren't that great though for Doxa. They're
I mean,
not.
there's Salida.
Well, they don't
What's wrong
have
with
that.
Salida?
No, nothing's wrong with Solita, but I know, well, some of them.
Our
I'm
fir-
just based on the sub
our first
200T.
argument. Our
Yeah,
first argument. So
I
so
love a Solita movement, but I don't know. I think for the price, like it is a fair price for the Doxa, but I do think I would rather spend a little bit extra and get a better power reserve.
yeah, that's fair. I mean, they could use Le Jeu Perret or something like that,
Yeah, but
which would
even
be
A better Solita.
most of the Salitas have the 48-hour power. They don't have like a high power
Yeah,
reserve Salida movement that I'm aware of. But let me throw my angle at you. And
come
our,
at
our
me.
our whole podcast, like I have all these questions about being an awesome badass woman in the watch industry, and like they're just all getting shelved. But
Sorry, but
this is a great
I'm not just
conversation.
a woman. I do
No, of
know
course.
about watches, so let's
No,
talk
yeah,
about it.
no, of course, of course. But if you look at the way and being a watch salesperson,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like it's an in-house movement. Yeah,
right,
that's
right.
the.
So here's my take on it, and feel free to hang on to it or to let it fall to the side. But they looked at it as a value add, right? Where,
Oh,
oh,
a
cool, it's
hundred
like
percent.
it's a flex. It's a flex. Oh, cool, we made our own movement, right? We've got the money to make our own movement. But additionally, if you look at how watches were normally sold through a multi-channel approach.
Yeah, they were
Where,
all just like coming from each
yeah,
other. JLC, like giving
yeah,
out movements left, right, and center.
yeah,
All
yeah.
of
But
this.
additionally, like when you were watch shopping in the mid 2000s, you would go to a store and it's a multi-brand store where they have 20 brands, right? And so they were usually owned by like a mom and pop, right? Like a local jewelry store that had 20 watch brands and they were selling them and showcasing them. If
Yeah.
you go buy a Cartier or a Tag or an Omega from a mom and pop jewelry shop, you're not an Omega customer. You are a mom and pop jewelry shop customer. Your customer profile remains with that jewelry store.
Yeah.
You're their customer, right? So brands at one point started to realize like how can we how can we get our customers back from these jewelry stores? I.e., now you see the push for in-house if they have the money to do it, because a lot of times getting parts, getting diagrams, getting things like that for in-house calibers is more challenging. Watchmakers aren't able to get the right parts or the right diagrams or have support to service these watches. So what do? You got to send them back to Cartier. You got to send them back. Not always, not always, but especially when you look at some of these crazy movements. You know, you talked about the Bulgari, little mini automatic, and I don't think a normal watchmaker is going to be able to service that. So think about it from a car perspective, right? Where like if you have a high performance vehicle, you got to take it to a high performance mechanic, right?
Yeah, but what's wrong
Or
with that?
you pay more. You pay more. So it's
Yeah.
not it's like
But if you
and
can afford a Bulgari, you can afford to service it.
oh, of course, of course.
So it's not really like
The
an
argument
issue here.
is not about affordability of service. It's more about accessibility, right? So
Yeah, well, I totally agree.
that's the issue that I have because so you buy that Bulgari and Bulgari's only the only one able to service that. You have to send it back to Bulgari, and then your watch is gone for 5 or 6 months. You know,
Oh,
you're
of course,
talking to
because
some.
you're in America. I'm in Geneva.
That's true, but you're talking to
It's a
somebody who's
bit
got a
different for me.
Bulgari watch at Bulgari right now, and
You
they won't
do.
even they won't even call me back. You know,
That's crazy.
um, so so yeah, and that's another video, right? I actually picked up one
Yeah,
of the
you need
Genta
to get one on that.
I picked up one of the Genta Bulgaris at a pawn shop here, and I sent it off to Bulgari, and I'm giving all my
The
secrets.
Octo. The Octo.
It was one of the Diaganos actually.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
but it was a Bulgari Diagano with the Bulgari, and Al Pacino wore
Yeah,
one, and like
I
it's
freaking
super,
love it. I love all of it. I'm
and
here for it.
it's a 35 millimeter, and it's got the really
Yes.
nice little like bullet style bracelet. It is. I'll show you a
Yeah.
picture. It's badass.
Yeah, that's so
Um,
cool.
but going back is that big in-house caliber push. That's a lot of the reason why brands are doing that, right? Because they want to own that customer. They want to, retain that customer. And the service side is how they do it. And that's the reason why if they have the money to push for an in-house caliber, they can do it. And I come from software and technology.
Mhm.
The coolest thing about being a software company is being open source, right? Letting people help and build your product and helping getting improvements from the community, right? That's the coolest thing about having open source software. And and look at like here in the US, there's these huge issues about right to repair. And if you own an iPhone, like if somebody opens up your iPhone
Yeah.
and tries to replace the battery, like it's no
The
longer
warranty's
the
gone.
warrant.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and brands are doing that. And brands are starting to take that away because I had another watch that I purchased, and I'm not going to say what brand because I love the brand, but I bought it from an AD at a discount, and come to find out they were discontinuing the relationship with the brand. So that's what they do. A lot of these mom and pop jewelry stores, they'll clear it out because they're like, look, we're not going to sell them anymore. We just want to get it out. We want to bring something else in. Let's just get them out. And what happens, right? So when that dealership license or contract expired, the warranty on my watch expired. I don't know if you know that. So I
No,
called the
that's crazy.
it, brands do that. Brands do that type of stuff. Um, and because I called them and I was like, hey, like my watch is like, and this was before I knew a lot about watches, but and I was very disappointed because I called them. I was like, hey, my watch is running like 5 minutes fast. Like, what's going on here? Like a day. I didn't. I didn't know if it was magnetized or not. At the time, I didn't know how to demagnetize it myself. I was like, okay, well, I got to send to a watchmaker. Da, 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 da. And I said, oh yeah, here's my watch. Here's the jeweler I bought it from. Here's the warranty information. Yeah, that watch is not under warranty. What do you mean? Like I just bought this watch like 6 months ago. Yeah, they're no longer a dealer. I'm so sorry. Like we're not, that watch isn't under warranty anymore. And when when we no longer have a contract with them, we don't have a service agreement, the watch warranty expires. And I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, but
Like,
you just think, just do the right thing. Like, it's just, yeah,
not everybody, not everybody believes these same morals that we have about doing the
yeah,
right
I
thing.
know. I know, and I get it. Like, you don't become really rich by having loads of nice morals, I guess.
No,
I don't know.
and the fact that we're watch collectors, so we're automatically,
Yeah,
and for the rest of our lives, you're going to be poor.
yeah, literally.
So I want to see, that embracement come back to off the shelf calibers, because I think about it like as being open source software. I don't look at it as a good thing. I
Well,
definitely.
I see this as an opportunity for micro brands personally. They're not going to go back. It's just not going to happen. So, but I do see this as an opportunity for micro brands because it's a big selling point. It's a gap that they can really fill. They can get these movements and they should start making smaller watches as well for smaller wrists
I
and embrace it because they don't do it. There's no micro brands, like, well, there are a few, but there's not that many that actually have ladies' watches, right?
Oh
In
yeah.
their repertoire, and they're missing a trick.
Would you f-
Personally,
do you feel like there's certain brands that are I guess female friendly in the watch
oh,
industry?
for sure, absolutely yes. And I love the approach of kind of non-gender specific as well because it just takes, if it's kind of a medium-sized watch like this Cartier, for example, my husband wears this and I wear it,
I
and
love that watch.
um, and it's a great size. Um, but it's also just like how some guys like larger watches. It's nice to have the option as a consumer for a smaller watch, and I think even a lot of men would like a smaller watch as well. It's not even about like your sex. It's just like having options, and just like a more vintage aesthetic, which I really love personally.
Yeah, the industry went from like having these big bulky watches to
Yeah,
like
Hublot types,
Hublot, Panerai,
Panerai. Yeah,
brands. I wouldn't say Hublot holds a close place to my heart, but Panerai definitely does. And then yeah, you see brands going backwards, right? I have my fair share of smaller watches, I guess. I have the medium Santos. I have a tank, absolutely
yeah,
obsessed
classic.
with.
Yeah.
And I find myself kind of I literally have my smallest watch is like a 35, and then my biggest watch is a 45. Like, come
Have you
on,
got a Pam? Have you got one?
I've got two Panerais, and I had one at one point. I had a 45 radio mirror, which
Yeah,
I just felt it just felt a little misproportionate. I have a 44 Luminor, and
yeah,
then so when I got rid of the radio mirror, I missed it, and then they came out with the Quaranta, and
yeah.
I
That's nice.
I just came back from the Panerai factory, and this was January last year, and I was like, let me buy a Panerai to remember my trip
It would
to the
be
Panerai.
rude not to.
Right. I know, because I was there, and I just filmed with the what was he, the COO Panerai. We filmed some
Yeah.
content together, and it's never gonna get released, unfortunately. I just didn't come prepared. He just sat down with me, and I was like, I don't really have any questions for you. So
Oh my
like,
God. It's like
I
a nightmare scenario.
I know, like, oh shit, like, hopefully I'll get to see
I was
him.
not expecting this.
No, no, no. And so after they gave me this private tour of the entire I was there in the manufacturer by myself with
Oh my
one
God.
person walking me around the whole Panerai factory. And then at the end of it, they take you to this little like office, right? And it's like a little like lounge, right? And they
Yeah.
have a private Panerai boutique. And
Did you go there and get your watch?
no, no, that's what I
Oh.
was saying. I felt like a big asshole because I was like, I literally just spent like, here I am
Oh my
self-funding my
God.
trip to Geneva to film,
You
and
don't have like 7 grand just to drop right now. Sorry.
no, yeah, I'm not that person where I can't impulsively just drop $7,000. Like I
No.
have to consciously. I wish I could, but I have to consciously think about my watch and my choice and my and how I buy watches now, and so at the end of the tour, they were like, "Oh, which Panerai are you interested
Oh
in?"
my
And
God.
I was like,
Just like there's a hole, you just want to be swallowed up. Like, okay, sorry, that's very nice. Bye.
I know. So the way that I finangled it, I was like, "Oh, cool. Let me see which straps you got." I bought like four or five different straps from them because,
Okay, because you did have a Panerai at least,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
did you wear it?
No, no. So
What? You
that
didn't wear your Panerai to a Panerai tour?
I wore a Baltic to the
Oh
Panerai.
God. What
I know.
Baltic do you have?
I have the Aquascoff and then I have the chronograph.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
I've got
tricomplex.
the, I call it the Mr. Roulette, but obviously it's MR Roulette.
Oh, the
But
MRO one.
yeah.
Nice. They are an awesome brand. Um, I recently got the tri-compacts from them, which again is another one of the watches here that I need to do press on. And yeah, and Baltic's a great brand. But no, so this last January was my first time in Switzerland, and and I started reading about customs and all this stuff. And it was like, oh, you have to get this app and you have to like, register your watch if you're bringing it in and like do all these weird little things. And I was like, let me wear a watch that's like cheapish. And if something happens to it, like I'm not gonna cry about it, like if
Yeah.
if customs
That's
takes it
true.
or
Traveling
something.
is, but surely you can't. You can just wear your watch that you're wearing, can't
Yeah.
you? I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
Us
didn't know what
Europeans were
I
obviously a lot more relaxed.
I didn't know what to think.
Yeah,
And I
it's
have
better to be safe, isn't it, than sorry.
exactly. And I have this weird stigma because I was doing some traveling and I lived in Europe for an extended period of time. And my mom had a garden, right? And this is a little different, but as I was like walking through the Netherlands, like I bought a bunch of like tulip bulbs for my mom and I brought them back through the airport. And when you come in as a U.S. citizen, they give you like a declaration form, and they're like, "Oh, do you have anything to declare?" Da 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 da. And it's like, "Oh, do you have any like food, or do you have any agricultural products, or do you have any animals, or like have you come into contact with like livestock?" They ask you these weird questions, and so of course I declared like, oh cool, I've got agricultural products, right? Because I've got tulip bulbs, right?
Yeah.
And in any ways, so they confiscated them, and
Oh.
they were like, oh, if you didn't declare those, like that would have been like a $20,000 fine or something like that. They said something like really like to me that was like holy shit, just over like
Yeah.
15 euros of tulip bulbs. Like it would have cost me 20 grand if I would have said no and they would have found them. So, so anyways, then I started doing more research and I was like, okay, cool. They need a health certificate and all this. And you could buy them at the airport because they come with a health certificate and they know this. And, here I am
Yeah.
just wandering through, the flower
Picking
market.
bulbs. Yeah.
Yeah, just like, cool, I want these. Um,
Now
and
I'm
so
imagining you with like this basket and just frolicking through a market and going, I'll have this one and this one. And
it pretty
then yeah.
It pretty much happened like that
Oh.
because when you buy tulips in Amsterdam, it's a whole experience. But they talk about like so there's the Rembrandt like varietal of a tulip
Mm-hmm.
where essentially it's like it's got like it's a two color tulip and it's like white
Yeah.
to red. And they talked about um how that was like a genetic like mutation, right? And how it was a disease that started infesting tulips that now becomes the Rembrandt varietal. And And so you learned a lot about tulips, and I was like, cool, you know. And I was like, I'm bringing some of these back, and I mean, it was a long time ago,
Oh,
um, but anyways, mom did not get her tulips, and
poor mama.
I didn't say anything because then I didn't want to be like, oh, I bought you these tulips and they got confiscated because then I look like an asshole, like, but I was like, okay.
Oh,
Um, so I'm curious. You said you lost a lot of your watches, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um, what is there a watch in your collection that you feel like holds a very special place? You know, a watch that
Well,
you say
well, I did. I
the
did have it.
Rolex, the Rolex,
Yeah, my OP. I mean, I've got in replacement of this watch.
right?
I basically I did the smart person thing of rather than buying loads of watches back with the money, I bought
Yeah.
one big watch. Um, and I replaced it with a Rolex Yachtmaster, reference number 268622 with the rhodium slate dial.
Yep. 37.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Perfect, perfect watch. And I've been wanting that watch for a long time, but I never thought I would actually have it. Um, and I love it, and I can't believe that it's mine still. And I got this as well to replace the Cartiers.
Yeah.
Because
No.
I had the Drive de Cartier.
Yeah.
I love that watch. Super thin. Oh, my thing again. Super thin um, manual winding. Beautiful. And I had a Must Cartier 21, Must 21, and a Tank Française automatic. Beautiful. Yeah, so I got this to replace all of those because I looked at the prices of all of the Cartiers and they was like skyrocketed. I was
They
like,
went
for
up.
God's sake. Yeah, it was crazy the difference in price. So I thought I did get this second hand as well, but it was like a year old. So I saved a bit on that. I didn't buy it at full price. But the Rolex I got from the AD. Um, but yeah, again, that was my husband was in Sicily because that's where he's from, and he walked into the AD and he said, "Have you got this watch?" And they said, "Yeah," and he bought it. So that's both my Rolexes are walk in and out.
Wow. Which OP was it? Which size and what color?
Oh, my original, it was like a salmon pink,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
26 millimeter, little tiny one. It was very cute. Yeah, I do miss it. It's the one that I miss the most for sure because it kind of I said I just that was all I wore for years.
It may or may not give you some comfort, but I'm gonna say it out there anyways.
Do it.
But hopefully, first of all, hopefully the thief, right? You said it was stolen. Did I?
Yeah, yeah.
Hope okay. First of all, hopefully the thief got caught. Part one.
No,
But
they didn't.
oh shit. But part two is maybe there is somebody out there who loves that OP just as much as you love that
Yeah,
OP.
yeah. That's a nice thought.
Let's be
But yeah,
optimistic.
you just got to move on. Like, and my collection's evolved, and I've got so many watches even
Yeah.
since last summer because obviously the nature of what I do, I get a lot of watches. So, um, yeah, yeah, it's still like it wasn't nice what happened. And my husband lost his Rolex Milgauss. He luckily he sold the Zenith just before, because otherwise that would have been a nightmare because we wouldn't have
Yeah.
had enough insurance. So that was actually really lucky that happened. What else did he have? He had his Breitling. His first watch was a Breitling Chronospace, which was really
Hmm.
cool. Um, and so yeah, that was gone. His first watch.
Wow.
Um, there were more. There were 13 watches gone. I know that. But anyway,
Wow.
it happened, and you just kind of get over it, don't you? Just move on
Yeah.
because it's just stuff at the end of the day.
It is. Yeah. Um, I'm curious about your take on journalism.
Okay.
How I'm curious because we're both content creators here. I'm curious about your approach to content creation. We talked kind of, and I think, both agree about making content that we would enjoy consuming.
Yeah.
But beyond that, do you feel like you have a signature approach to content creation?
I think if
Or
you just look at my Instagram, I think you'll find there is.
uh,
Um,
and what do you feel makes something story worthy? Because you also are a writer, right?
yes. Yeah, at the moment I'm writing for Mainspring and I'm doing a lot of reviews,
Hmm.
which I really enjoy. It's what I do with my YouTube as well, are reviews, because I feel it's important to have a female voice in that sphere, um, and talking about their experience of a watch and how it wears. I find that really important. And again, from a style perspective as well, it's like heavily influences what I do. Um, I'm all about the visuals, really.
Yeah.
I'm very
Do,
design based in what I do.
do you feel like as a journalist, like the perspective, do you think watch media does enough to kind of highlight the female collectors? Do you feel like there's enough media out there for
I
female
think I
collectors to
think the
consume?
media is going in the right direction, and I think they're definitely very happy to see it. I think and more receptive. I mean, I've just sent um, I've just reviewed a Formex Stratos UTC, which is a pretty beefy watch and very
Totally.
masculine. But they were happy for me to review it on my little 13.5 centimeter wrist, and I was really impressed with that
Marcus is
because
amazing.
yeah, but it's just like, it's nice because it's from my perspective, right? So it is going to be completely different. And I enjoyed writing the review, and yeah, so that should be out soon, I suppose.
Is
Still
is
being
there
proofread.
is there a particular story or article that you've put together that really kind of resonates with you? I know as a
Yes,
creator,
yeah,
I think about all my videos as my babies, and like, I'm having little kids every every time I release a YouTube video. It sounds so
I
weird
know. Trust me, I
to
know.
say, but what is that article? And share it
Okay,
with us,
well,
please.
article. I think the one I
Or
haven't written
YouTube.
that I haven't written that many articles yet, but my article that I wrote just like from passion alone was the one for Nomos,
I
and
saw that.
my experience of the Nomos forum, because I just had a really great time and it was just really great to feel seen because
Uh-huh.
I hadn't really, I felt so seen and understood because it was coming from a style perspective and the importance of that in the watch industry. So that was just really like, wow. Like, because I've always just felt a bit silly. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I am silly, but I'm not an idiot either. Like, I know what I'm talking about. So it was just nice to kind of have that validation of like, yeah, what you're doing is actually valid in the watch industry. And also, one of my first videos I did on YouTube was about my Cartier Tank Française and the old model, because I had the old model, and how much better the old model is compared to the new one that they released. And I just love that video because I full on rant about it, like so passionately. And it's actually, I think it's probably my most successful video too, because it resonates with a lot of people. And I'm just, that like relief that you're not the only one thinking about this stupid little details in a watch.
Yeah.
That is the difference. It's like, but the typeface is slightly different, and the guilloche, there's no guilloche. Like, how dare you not have guilloche? And how dare the bracelet like take away the tank tracks? Like, why would you do that, Cartier? Why? But
Yeah.
but it's from like pure, like there's a
Passion.
pure, yeah, passion. Is purity. Like it's just me going off on one, thinking like maybe someone else might feel the same way, and like, let's talk about it. If you don't, like, I just want to discuss it. Let's discuss. But yeah, I could just love that about watch collecting and watches in general, is that you can go and talk for hours about the tiniest little detail, and we all get it. Like, the watch geeks unite. We understand, and I am a watch geek first and foremost. Like, yes, I may be like elegant, I do my photo shoots and all this, but
Sure.
I am a watch geek. I love watches. And that's why I spend every morning doing a photo shoot focusing on my watch on an outfit, because I'm just like, look at what I'm wearing. Look how
Yeah.
cool it is. Like, I've
My
literally based my whole outfit around my watch because I love it that much. That is what I'm about, basically.
my wife doesn't understand that side because I'm literally like before I even think about what I'm putting on, like I'm thinking about what watch I'm gonna wear.
Yeah, but no, my
And
whole thing is watch first, outfit second.
nice,
Like,
nice.
of
Same,
course,
same, same.
there is no scenario other than maybe if I have to go to a wedding and I have to wear like a gown, I would think. In fact, most days I have no idea what I'm going to wear or what I'm going to shoot that day. I just know the watch. I think about the watch meticulously, and then it just like this moment of like just pure bliss comes when I like the outfit is complete. And then it's just like, it's so geeky, but it's just, I can't, it's the urge is stronger than me, Blake. I can't do anything about it.
That's super funny because when I was figuring out, so we started off with the podcast, which of course
Yeah.
you're on right now as we're as we're talking, and
Hi.
then we rolled into a website, and then we our third outlet was YouTube, and my first real YouTube video was like why you need a Cartier tank, right? And so I had like this these list of reasons
Yeah.
why I feel like everybody has to own a Cartier tank, and I put it out there. And the video, I mean, I'm a small YouTuber, like like no joke, we're a very tiny outlet for you
Well,
on
so
you.
am I. So am
Yeah, I
I.
mean, we've
Don't
got like
worry.
500 subscribers. You know what I mean? Like, but anyways, I posted that video, and then I got a good amount of traction. I feel like it was probably one of my higher performing videos, like up there, and then people in the comments were like, "You don't need a Cartier tank. Like, duh, why would you need this watch?" Da 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 da. And
The
then,
classic.
yeah, I
But
don't,
they're watching the video, so it's just
yeah.
very bizarre, isn't it?
It
That
and
they're,
I don't know if this is like a validation thing, but so I posted the video and it went out, and it I felt like it did pretty good for a small channel. But then like maybe like 6 or 5 months passed, and Britt Pierce, super fan. I'm a fan of Britt Pierce. And she posted like the same thing with like why you need a Cartier tank. And it was like the exact same reasons and the exact same order of mine. And I was like, maybe she saw my video. Like that'd be so cool, like and maybe not, or maybe her and I are just on the same wavelengths that we're thinking the same
yeah. Brit
shit.
loves her Cartier, that's for sure.
Yeah, and
She's great.
I don't like know her, but hopefully she'll come onto the podcast at some point. And no, I was like, to me that was like a validation for me. Okay, cool. I made a video that actually is like worthy, because
Yeah, but you don't need other people
I
to
know.
like do the same thing. You are worthy, Blake.
Yeah, I
Like,
know. But this was early into like this was like I said, this was one of my first videos, and I didn't understand like because I've made videos for people for so long. I've been commissioned by people to make videos for them, but I've never really like went down the rabbit hole of like,
yeah.
okay,
Well,
doing the
you're
titles and
very
topics and
vulnerable as well.
yeah,
Like, it's
yeah,
vulnerable putting yourself out there. It's something I have to do every day. And it
yeah.
is, you're vulnerable because you're not like, because I come from the acting background. I'm not a character. I'm just myself. Like, which is a personality, but it's like there's this vulnerability there that, if people come for you, they're coming for you. And it's like,
I
and just the way you edit, it's like it's your choices. Everything is your choice based on what you want, and it's all on you. And if like, yeah, it's like a lot.
It
Um,
is. Yeah, I think about things a little differently now,
yeah,
and but to me it was a cool moment because like I said, this was like one of the first pieces of content. And I was like, I wasn't even sure if this was a good idea. Like when you first start
yeah.
making like video product or like doing videos or doing YouTubes or doing titles or doing like there's so much that goes
God,
into it.
the amount of times I've spent hours and hours and hours and it just flops.
It
Like
flops. Yep.
you can't predict it, but you just have to stay true to yourself. Like don't concentrate on what others are doing. Just do what you're doing and what you want to watch a video about. That's
I
the only
I've
thing you
learned
should be doing.
I've learned that now, and now I'm just trying to ramp up the amount of content I produce. I'm trying to make it more sustainable and scalable
Yeah.
because I pour hours and hours and hours and hours of time into one video, and then I'm like, well, okay, that like took away my desire to do video for a couple weeks now. You know what I mean? Or like something. It
Yeah,
just
it's
it
a
could
lot.
it was so consuming. And then yeah, so I've kind of like over consumed the production side of things, and now I don't want to put out another video. I don't want to shoot another video. I don't even want to like even film another video. Like I don't want to edit another video. Like because here I am like spending a couple hours shooting and now spending 5, 6, 7 hours editing. It's like one 3 minute video is 10 hours of my time,
Yeah,
and
easy.
so yeah, I'm trying to figure out a more sustainable approach to video production, and I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Um,
Well, it sounds
and
like you've got some really great ideas and concepts coming up. I look forward to when you do make those videos because
we
they sound
we have a
great.
lot of cool ideas, and I'm gonna come on the record now. But for Watches and Wonders, I obviously I'll see you there, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
everybody does the traditional, oh, here's this release, here's that release, here's a new release from this brand or that. It's like it's all very product driven, and I want to share my Watches and Wonders experience with everybody, and I want to come from that approach. I don't want to talk about, of course I'm gonna
Yeah.
sit down with brands and they're gonna show me their
It's what
watches.
I did last year. I basically did a whole video about like how to go and watch the wonders and like what it was like and what was worth doing and what isn't worth doing. Um, and yeah, had people actually. It didn't do that well at the time because obviously it was just after Watches and Wonders. But I've had people contact me recently because they're obviously thinking about going and they're finding it quite useful.
I'm gonna have to go watch it because this will be my first Watches and Wonders.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
think I will do a similar thing as well of like my experience, because I find it as well quite overwhelming. Like all of the releases, I think I would rather just do it like from an experience point of view as
I
well,
think
because the people have got it covered. Like I
the
don't need to
pre
be
yeah
putting it out there about like what is released, like
yeah
and
I
my
I
opinions on it.
I agree
I'm gonna have a good time and like just show about that.
that that's gonna be my approach this year. And my first trip was pre Watches and Wonders. Like I went in January,
Hmm.
and obviously it's like that's like the hot time for journalism. Like cool, Watches and Wonders. Like we got a lot of shit to cover. We got a lot of work to do. It's like the high season, like tourist season, and if you're living in a ski resort or something, But anyways, I was really concerned about the first or last year's Watch and Wonders because I want to get genuine content, and I want people to be passionate about what they're showing, and these brands, after like the first day, maybe their look starts to glaze over, and they said the same thing to like 20,000 people, like, oh, well, we just released this because blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I was worried about like like brands getting kind of like boring about what they're talking about. Um, because when they do press and they talk to a million people, they say the same thing over and over and over. And I was very worried about that not coming off as passion in last year's press. So I went to Watches and Wonders early, or I went to the brands early, and I chose a few brands I was going to cover, and did my coverage kind of independently.
Yeah.
And then when Watches and Wonders came out, I just did like an article, like, cool, here's my favorite releases from Watches and Wonders. Because as an independent creator, I can't do what all these other outlets can do. So
No, like it's they're all running around like headless chickens as well. So it's like so stressful. I was there only at one of the press days for Watches and Wonders last year, and the rest I did the public days, and it was so much more chill on the public days.
okay, so maybe I should go on the public days.
I think at least 1 or 2 days, yeah.
Yeah. Um, if you could change one thing about the watch industry today, what would it be?
Greed.
Okay. You mean like in terms of like them ramping up the prices and giving us the
It's
same
yeah, it's
product?
always this yeah, it's always the price, like having to be more, but actually if you just focus on getting a solid piece and not trying to shove stuff on it for just greed's sake. I find that annoying. And I'm not talking about like really amazing innovations in the, like when someone does like the thinnest thing in the world. I find that amazing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
just think just on a basic level, I think Omega is a good example of that. Like I don't get why they're suddenly so expensive.
That makes
Like why?
sense. Don't have an answer for
Just
you.
yeah, because I don't feel that their product is a superior product for the price. I don't, so I
Sup-
don't get it.
Superior to who?
Well, like Rolex.
Well, there was a time where, and if you look at time, like I know I am a historian in a weird way, a watch historian. I'm sure you're,
Yeah,
but there was a time where Rolex approached Omega, and this is my understanding, right? I wasn't there, so I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, but I heard this multiple times that Rolex approached Omega trying to figure out how they could scale up production and 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 lower their costs of production. So at this time, Omega was trying to ramp up and lower their costs. And Omega was like, "We're not going to do that because we care about having a superior product." Um, and and so Omega was pretty much like, "Piss off," like. So I don't know if that's true, but uh, you're talking to an Omega fanboy in a
right.
weird
Well,
way. So, but I'm not gonna like grill you for it. But they do have great watches.
yeah, but I don't understand the price.
I don't understand them either. You know, I'll just wait for them to be half off at on eBay or something.
Yeah, but I just I don't get it. But even Zenith, like you can, like, and they go so cheap secondhand.
Totally.
And I saw like their sales figures, and they like keep hold of so much of their stock. They don't sell any of it,
Hmm.
which is quite a dangerous model. But like the prices are quite high. Not to say they're beautiful watches, but I just think that. But same with Rolex, and we could all just calm down a bit. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like
Yeah.
because
Totally.
where does it go? Like where does it go from here?
Yeah. Hopefully not to the stratosphere because I still want to be able to afford
Well,
watches.
that's the point. It's like I just don't want it to become just a rich person's game. It's already like you have to be of a certain level to enter these entry level luxury brands, but soon it's going to be like so crazy. They're just
Yeah.
you can't buy one anymore, and that's sad because actually, and I know they like the status thing and all of this, but the especially with Swiss watchmaking, you see it. They've scaled down massively how many they're making, but made the price really high. So they're still making the money and more,
Yeah.
but they're making way less watches.
I think it's just that strategy where they say, you know, we're gonna make less, it's gonna put less strain on our production. We're gonna make the same, if not more. Um, and and at some point somebody thought that that was a good idea. And I
Yeah, but
hate them for it.
I get it to a point, but it's like there comes of like this like tipping point where I'm just like, no. Like with the Bulgari, for instance, like I'm actually glad they've made this movement because I love the Serpenti, right? I loved it.
It's a
But
beautiful watch.
what stopped me buying it was the fact that it was quartz. And I'm like, I can't justify 7,000 francs on a quartz watch. I just can't. But
Right.
I can't. But in my like crazy watch geek mind, I'm like, well, I can justify 10,000 on it, which doesn't make any sense either. But you know, like there is like a level of like craftsmanship and energy and design that goes into making that movement, right? So I
Totally.
get it, like from the craftsmanship, engineering of this. It's not just like putting in a quartz watch that's already been made.
Totally.
Um, so yeah, I'm kind of rambling, but yeah,
No.
that annoys me um, a lot because I am someone who likes to feel like they're getting value for money, whether that's 100,000 francs or 200 francs. I still want to feel like what I'm buying is worth that money. Does that make sense?
1,000%. Yeah. That's why I shop pawn shops.
Yeah,
I'm like a
yeah,
thrifter of a watch collector. Like everything I
yeah,
buy will usually be secondhand, or I'll go on Chrono 24 and try and buy the cheapest one if I can, and hopefully it's not too thrash. And I try and balance that, like 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 value and condition. I try and that's where I have a little bit of fun, you know.
yeah. Oh, me
Yeah.
too. I love a bargain. In
Uh,
fact, I got beautiful Chopard Samoritz that I got for a really good
Ch-
price.
Chopard's amazing.
I
I
love
see
Chopard.
I see some of their Milli Maglias here at the pawn shops for
Oh, they go for so cheap. Yeah,
like 1,500, like $1,300. Like, okay, sign me up. I'll take one.
yeah,
As long as like there's one right now at a pawn shop sitting there, and I think they have it at 2K. And I was like, just shoot me a text if you're gonna do 1,500 or less. And I think that time might be coming up.
yeah. I
Um,
reckon.
what is your favorite? So we're gonna do some rapid fire stuff, and then I'm gonna let you
Okay.
sleep. Um, what is your favorite watch brand of all time?
Oh my God.
I got you full screen so I can watch you kind of sweat it out.
That is tough. Well, no, it's Cartier.
Okay. All right.
And
Gr-
bearing in mind, I love a bell. I love Rolex. I think Rolex is amazing, but Cartier just for the sheer like variety through the history and just and the history and just from someone who loves design, they have some exquisite pieces and proper serious watchmaking and fantastic entry level. Like they do it all in my book.
I would agree.
Cartier.
Grail watch if no amount of money. If money was not an object. I don't know what I was going to say there.
Well, now I've got my eye on a solid gold Serpenti with automatic watch, haven't I? Covered
I
in
guess
diamonds.
so.
That'd be freaking amazing. Like,
That'd be
one that
crazy.
wraps all
Yeah,
around my
yeah,
arm.
yeah, yeah,
I'd be
yeah.
like this, like the Statue of Liberty, like
I
holding it up.
I sold Bulgari, um, and I loved selling them. You
Just
know,
so good.
it's
It's
yeah.
so good. So decadent. So yeah, one of those, please. And
Okay.
Piaget, something really like crazy Piaget. Um, piece.
Uh,
Like
do have you like done a lot of transacting? Like, have you bought watches and then sold them off, and then
no, that's
okay,
it's not my style. I'm a buy it and then
okay,
hold on for it
buy and
forever.
hold. All right, so
Yeah, buy and hold. Um, yeah, my husband sold that Zenith, but that was like a big decision.
yeah,
And by the way, he bought a Vacheron Constantin overseas blue dial. That's what he
the
bought.
the three-hander or the chrono or
Three hander.
okay,
Yeah, the is it the 4500V? That one
okay, yeah,
for
yeah,
reference.
yeah. I had to think about it for a second.
Um, he loves it, and I made him buy it, because I think it's an amazing watch. I also
It
love
is.
Vacheron, to be honest.
Vacheron's
The card,
awesome.
yeah, Cartier Vacheron. Clearly, I'm a Richemont
Yeah,
kind of
I see
girl,
it.
but yeah, Vacheron again. Oh, I would love a American 1921.
Those are
That's
badass.
yeah, that's a grail for me too.
My friend had one in the yellow gold because they don't make a lot of the ones in yellow gold, from my understanding. They
Yeah.
only make them in rose, I think, or white gold or something. But he had one and he got rid of it very quickly, unfortunately. I don't know why. Um, so
But yeah,
what is the most annoying watch related stereotype that you've heard?
um, well, I guess for me, it's like you can't wear that; it's too big for you.
Okay, that makes sense. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
which I get all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
But can I
yeah.
just say, the camera makes your watches look bigger than they are. So,
It
like, people
does.
need to pipe down. Like, we're judging my wrist, okay?
So if Sophie's Watch World could have anything that she wanted in a dream collaboration, what brand would you work with and what would that look like?
Oh, God. Well, I am actually collaborating on a watch already,
Oh yeah.
but I can't say what it is.
Of course, no.
But that is a dream come true. But I guess, like, fantasy world. Um,
That's the only world I live in.
me too. Fantasy world again. Like, wouldn't it be cool to have a Sophie's Watch World Cartier? Yeah, of course it would. Of course it would. I don't know what that would look like though. I do have a lot of ideas on designs of watches in general. Um, so yeah, I love the idea of collaborating on a design with watch brands for sure. And I'm excited for my crazy watch to be out into the world at some
Is it
point
gonna
this
be
year.
is it gonna be something that is unisex?
Yes, it's
Okay.
fun.
Okay. Well, we'll have to have you back on our at some point in the future to talk about some of your collaborations and so I'm gonna ask one more. Um
Okay.
and if so obviously like if you had a roadmap and you said, "Hey, this is where I want my brand or
One, please don't give me a roadmap. I'm terrible at directions. But
okay,
okay,
okay.
carry on.
If obviously like with your brand, Sophie's Watch World, um are there any milestones you hope to accomplish at some point? I mean, you just talked about your dream collaboration. Is there anything else that you hope to accomplish in your journey in the watch space?
Yeah, I think yes, privately in my head, talking to myself, yes. Um, yeah, I think I would like to, in some capacity, be a spokesperson for um, brand. I think like
Like
a
an ambassador?
major, yeah, like a major brand. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Um, a pipe dream. Um, but also just I think I I would really like to kind of
do more presenting and things like that, and I would love to do that for media, like in the watch world, and do interviews, like do things of that nature. I think that would be really fun because it's something I've done professionally outside of the watch world, but it would be really cool to do that
Yeah,
here. And obviously, living in Switzerland,
it's in your
eventually that could
backyard.
happen.
Yeah.
Out the
Oh,
window.
yeah. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. We have already consumed nearly an hour and 40 minutes of it. And
Eek.
no, no, no. I am glad that we spent this time with you. I am super excited for this episode to drop. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Um,
we've really rambled, haven't we? We've gone on some
we've done
wild
some
tangents.
some rambling, and it's either gonna be the best one or the worst one because
Oh God.
but I don't care. I don't care. Hopefully people we shared some cool stories and usually in some of the other podcast episodes is very is very it's we focus on progression and progressing and extracting information and and this one we didn't have to do that. It just was very it was very cool. I liked it. So hopefully everybody
Yeah,
else
me
agrees.
too. Well, life's too short not to be fabulous and not to have fun. So I think in that today.
Oh yeah, no, totally. And I will definitely see you in Geneva in April. So
Yes, with pleasure.
thank you so much for coming on. Everybody,
Thanks for having me.
I am going to link everything Sophie in the description. So make sure you check her out, give her a follow. And hopefully by the time you're listening to this, she will have dropped her watch. And hopefully you will be able to share that with her. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.